Okay, so we're up to Simon Pei Hey. Ve'ezim mekayim also likros krishma. Where can you and can you not say krishma? Says the Machab in Sif Aleph. Lo yelech odem b'mevuas hamatunofas. A person should not go in dirty alleyways. V'yaniach yodei al piv, and put his hand over his mouth. V'yikri krishma, to say krishma, to sort of make it less audible. V'afirim hayokeira avod tzorich lahafsik. And if he happens to be walking and then he gets to that place, tzorich lahafsik, he's got to stop k'shiyagir l'mav hamatunov, when he gets to this mav hamatunov. Or k'shiyetz misham, and then when he passes it and he moves on, afilu shahot kadei ligmar es kula, even if he's there in enough time that he could have finished the whole of krishma, ein tzorich lachza ela l'mokim shepasach, and he has to go back to the place where he stopped. Says the Ramah, there are those who say that he goes back to the beginning, and that is the main halacha. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkat and Aleph, that he reads so quietly, that it's hardly noticeable that he's moving his lips. Also, even that is also. Sivkat and Beis, and if it's in front of him, also kamaleinov in the eyesight. V'chein ikka, and the Ramah says that one should go back. If you spent enough time that you could have completed the whole thing, you should go back to the beginning. V'chein ikka, says the Rosh Chaim b'simin samachay Mishnah Berurah should be an rishon kol pratei adinim. Okay, halacha base. Afilu lahar b'divrei Torah. This is a very relevant, very interesting halacha, and the issa of thinking in divrei Torah in a bathroom. Says the Machaba Sif base. Afilu lahar b'divrei Torah also b'beis hakisei. Even to think, not to speak, but even just to think divrei Torah in a bathroom, in a toilet, or b'beis hamerachatz, or in a bathhouse, is also. And in a dirty place like a dirty alleyway where there's rubbish and garbage, and we'll see it's a place where there's soya and there's miraglaim. Then it's also to say to har be mahar b'divrei Torah. Says the Ramah, afilu hilchas hamerchatz, even the halachas of a beis hamerchatz also lema b'merchatz. We'll see in the Mishnah exactly what that means. Dvarim shechol mutal amrim b'shem lashon hakodesh. If you to speak mundane things, not divrei dvarim shebekdusha, but to say them in lashon hakodesh, that is actually allowed. V'chein hakinuyim, and so too appellations, descriptions of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, kagoyin, rachum, ne'emon, v'chiyotzi bohem, mutal amrim sham. You're allowed to say those, but not. We said yesterday shalom. We was machlokas yesterday about shalom. Aval hashemas she'enim nimchakim, but those names of Hashem which have got an issa of shemas, you're not allowed to rub them out. Also lahaskirim sham, you're not allowed to mention those names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a bathhouse or in a toilet. V'im nizdamin lo sham lahafrish midavo issa mafrish. But if you need to stop someone from doing a davar ha'asa, then you should be mafresh afilu b'lashon hakodesh b'yonei kodesh, even in lashon hakodesh or in yonei kodesh. Says the Ramah, finishing off of makom shemutal lahar b'divrei Torah, in a place where you can think in divrei Torah, mutal lifsek, then you're allowed to pasken, or b'vad shalom atamash adavar, so long as you don't give reasons and just say also mutal, whatever it may be. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Okay, Dalet. Afilu bizman she'ein sham adam. You can't think in divrei Torah even if there's no one else there in the beis hamerchatz. But divrei Torah v'chein also le'ein beis hakisei b'mishkli hashemus v'hapalim shalosh and hakodesh. I think this means like biblical Hebrew, like grammar and things like dikduk and things like that. She'ein derech lagia or liyidia rak al pi haksuvim v'yavel lahar b'mikri. You might come to think about more, divrei Torah. Or pasha jemuta adam lisboin the beis hakisei b'goyda shiflo. So a person is allowed to think how lowly a person is. A person can think that it's not appropriate for him to be a balgaiva, and that ultimately after 120 he goes to a place of offer rimah v'tolas, etc. If you look at the beginning of footnote 4, even though you can't think of divrei Torah in these places, the Nefesh Chaim writes, you can think about being mesakein midas rois. To how to fix up bad midas, that's allowed as well. Sivkot involved also. So what does one think about in the bathroom? Think about cheshboinus, calculations and hotza'osov and your expenses. Kadesh alova the hero that you won't come to think about divrei Torah. Or Shabbos yachshav b'minyanim mitzurim noim. Think about nice buildings and paintings and things like that. Or beis hakisei and the bathroom. Va'afilu b'toich arba amas shal beis hakisei. even within 4 amas of Beis HaKisei, Mokum Shekol HaReach, where there's no bad smell, Gamkein Osa Lahara, it's also to think. V'ayin Le'el B'Siman Ayin Tes, B'Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotzen Gimel. Kosev B'Sefer Tesefer Yerushalayim B'Shem HaYerushalmi, to be bursaki in a tannery, Osa L'Ispalel is to also to daven, V'chein HaZkir Kol Dover Shebekdusha, in a tannery. So that's when the tanning process has started, and there's a bad smell there. But if it hasn't yet started, then it's mutter. You haven't started the tanning process, then it's mutter. Even the professional himself, the tanner himself, who's used to this, he can't do it. So long as other people are distressed by it, he can't do it either. Sif Cotton Hay. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Nofish Zuhama, when because it's in the Beis HaMerchatz, there's sweat and smell and steam, Mos, and it's considered Mos, and therefore it's got the same din as where there's Soya and a Beis HaKisei. The Tam Isahiru B'choli Lamakomis, and the reason for the prohibition to think in Divrei Torah in all these places is Mishum Deboin V'Hoy Machanecha Kodesh V'Leka, and this is not a place where there's Kedusha. Kosev Beis Yosef, Misha Talmudu Shogur B'Fiv, someone who is his learning is constantly on his lips. And he just can't help it. He just thinks in learning. Then mutter. They say Rabbi Strauss Lanta, when he came out of the bathroom, his face was strained. It took so much effort to hold himself back from thinking in Divrei Torah. Right? But if it's an einus, then the Beis Yosef says it's mutter. Yesh Omrim to kim the onosu be'ruroi, since it's forced almost. In that situation, he'll be able to articulate it. He actually concludes that dibur is always asa. In the Rai, you can disprove from the Gemara. And that which he says, is muta. All the Beis Yosef is saying is that if he is thinking, he hasn't done an issa, because the guy was onus. But Chovis Hagavra is to try and push off these thoughts. Okay, so we said that Losh Divrei Chol, you can say Losh Kodesh. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton Tes, Midas Chasidusu Lachachmi, not to say anything in Dvarim Shebekdusha, even in Lashon HaKodesh. To say words like Ne'emon, Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Yud, Harayvad Oise Berachum. He says you cannot say the word Rachum. But in other languages it's allowed. So to say merciful and things like that, faithful, that's okay. Mashenkin b'shad divrei Torah. V'cholshkin Hashem she'enim nimchokin also le'mesham afilu b'loshen laz. Kagoin got b'loshen Ashkenaz or buga b'loshen Polish Polish v'Rusya v'chiyai gavna. She'af she'sham zeh shem zeh ein by kedusha. Even though in saying God or got or whatever in other languages has no kedusha, but osis ksivasoi u'mutal lemachko. Very important you say this. Right, God he says you can rub out. Yeah, nonetheless, there's a bizoyin to say it in these places. When you're talking about these lofty things, one should avoid saying it. Like we said in the previous it has some ramifications, and one should try and avoid saying it. Yud Aleph, Mutter Amram, you are allowed. This is going on. What's it going on? We said Racham Mechavan. We said Mutter Amram Sham. The Gambnei Adam Mechunim Bohem Lefamin, because sometimes people do it. Shnei Mechavan v'Racham Tzaddik v'Davka Boimekach Al Boime Haracham Yiracham Alecha. But to say Haracham, the merciful one, should have Rachmanos on you, Yesh Lem Da'asa Kamesh Ele Shalom. Fine. She'enim Nimchakim Lav Davka Do'ika Shalom Da'asa Lahaskisham, like we said previously. But even though it's Enim Nimchakim, it's Lav Davka, but even that one you can't say there. But to be Mafresh Dova Ha'issa For huadin, that's allowed. In nichlas belibo hira avera. For example, if a person he contemplated to do an avera, mutal lahara shama divrei Torah, then it's okay to be mahara and divrei Torah in that place, because that will divert you from doing that issa. Shator matzeres mehurim roim. Okay, sifkot yudalad. Uvinyane kodesh dahainu loyma lo afilu b'lashon hayrosh also lasos ken. You can tell, you can paskin the guy and say this is osa. You don't have to be too careful and say in a way of beli lashon hara, not in a psak. V'yesh machmir and say no. V'sovrim de also learn b'lashon hara. You can't start issuing psakim and use that language to zehu Torah, because that's Torah. For example, you're in the bathhouse and you see a guy shaving after chatzos. He's not allowed to do that. Just say ein megalchin. You mustn't shave. Don't shave. The lashon ze ein lashon harav. Afal gav the mele nishma da asa. Avalo yom asa legalech. So say ein megalchin. One doesn't shave, right? But don't say it's asa to shave, because that's a psak. For nearly the ein dvar nishma bekizad. If you say ein megalchin and the guy won't listen, he won't understand, we won't listen, then you can explain to them the issa involved, b'chol chalakav, in all details, kadei la'afrishin, to stop him doing this avera. Even without just stopping a guy from doing an issa, you're allowed to say do such and such. Even if automatically a hero will come out, because you're not actually saying it, expressing it in a way of a psak. Mokum shemuta, and the Ramah just finishes off and says, Mokum shemuta lahar b'divrei Torah, then it's muta to paskin, kagoin b'beis ha-mitzoy shel merchatz. For example, in the middle room we spoke about yesterday, of the changing rooms of the beis ha-merchatz, or kagoin shu ba'atzmei ein enoki legamrei, kagoin shenoga b'yodov m'koyim ha-mechosim, or for example, he himself touched parts of the body which are normally covered, the im yodov, because if it was properly dirty, or if it was mamish and a mokum matunaf in the beis ha-kisei itself, then for sure it'll be also. Lipstick hadin davi k'mo hiru shemechashiv atam b'liboy ayin le'el simim zayim sivbeis mishbura ve'er halacha.